Hi, this webinar is for you if you are a professional working with teenagers and they are disengaged and you're just looking for some extra tool to add to your kit. And ideally, we want to do activities that give teens the sense that we're in it together. Okay, so it's not us versus them, that sort of thing. And so simple strategies to create a safe, fun, co-regulated learning space is what this is all about. So I'm Kristi. I'm a developmental learning consultant and I work with teens and their teams to use movement as a tool, a strategy that can improve interactions, engagement, communication, and even social skills. I'll get to that a bit later. But it's great that you're here. And this is based on my own experience and teachings of how to feel safe and ready to learn, both physically and mentally. Very shortly, I'm going to do a little 4 movement sequence called PACE. So please join in. I will just go through it with you. But firstly, just notice, what's your breathing like at the moment? Do you get a sense if you're breathing shallow? Or you actually are breathing a bit lower down into your belly? Okay, just get a sense of that. Now, think about your body. Yes, the body. Is there some feelings, some sensations that, you can just pause for a moment? Is it my lower back? Is there a twinge? Are my eyes tired? Or am I just totally relaxed and chilled? Usually when we stop and pause and think, we'll find something in our body that's sending out a signal of some kind. And our brain. So in terms of that, I just mean, what are our thoughts doing? Are we thinking about what's for dinner? Are we thinking, what's Kristi going to be talking about? It's all relevant, and this is just called noticing. Okay, so please join me for PACE. What we're going to do is we're going to get a sip of glass of water. So this is really important, so pause if you need to go and get some water and come back. And if you have your water bottle handy or glass, this is where we just take a sip of water mindfully. You might like to hold it in your mouth and just get that sense of that, clear liquid that's about to charge our system, rehydrate, and quench our thirst. Okay, that's the first movement. The second one is where we're just going to put our hand over our navel. You can't see me doing that in this video, but I do have another video, and I'll pop the link below for PACE. Okay, so get your fingers and your thumb like this, and you're going to go just under your collarbones and either side of your sternum, and you're just going to find these 2 little divots, and hand on your navel, and you're just going to give that a rub. Okay, we can push into it, just give it some feedback, activating. Okay, that's actually clearing the cobwebs. Signals to our brain. Okay, sending more oxygen. Okay, and just swap hands. So we do things always equally if we can. And we give the other side a rub. And if you are comfortable and you've got the hands sorted out, try looking around the room with your eyes. And remember to breathe. So this is a big test on just refocusing, because our eyes can go into stare mode. Okay, so just move our eyes from side to side. And when that's complete, we're going to do what's called the cross crawl. So I'll try and stay in view of this little tiny camera. Okay, so opposite hand, opposite knee. You come across and down. Okay, hands up and down. Okay. It might seem like I'm taking a while to get into the video or the webinar, the recording. This is called PACE for a reason. We're getting into the rhythm and the timing of what we're almost ready to learn. Okay, now if you could just cross your ankles, standing or sitting, put your thumbs down, cross here, and bring it up, like so. And you're welcome. Just drop your shoulders, sink into your hips, sink into the ground. Just take some nice deep breaths. We are sending signals to our body of safety, bringing it all into the center. All our energy back in. Okay. Do that for 30 seconds. You can do it for a couple of minutes. And we just put our feet flat on the floor, straight again, and all our fingertips go together. And we may just do this for 30 seconds. We may feel little tingles, we may not, but we're just going to do it. Everything connected, everything centered, everything ready to go. Wonderful. Thank you for joining in on that. So as I said, there'll be a link to how we can access more information about PACE in the discussion section below. But essentially, PACE is starting with water. So we're just sipping the water. We're giving our system an extra boost before we demand more attention and more learning capacity. Clearing the way, okay, activating and using two hemispheres here through signaling the body. And then we're going to go over to the cross crawl, which ultimately both sides of the body are working. So we're communicating across the two sides of the brain. Okay. And then finally, we do what's called a hook up. So you might want to change that with the teen to, what am I thinking? Wire up or something like that. Hugging, just hug yourself. But it's really important because it just brings it all back together for then. Now I'm in PACE. I'm ready to learn. So check in with yourself. Where's your breath now? Do you feel a little bit more settled? Do you feel, like more centered, more in your body, more aware, that sort of thing? So there's just good things to notice. All right. Thanks for joining me for PACE. I find PACE to be an excellent starter in any learning setting. And so that is what I do. And the teens that I work with, they do it too. So yeah, just presume competence and you model and you give it a go. So this PACE is a form of regulation, and doing it together is that co-regulation. Okay, so no matter how big or grown up the teens look, ultimately, they're in your care and they still are seeking your support. They borrow your nervous system at times. Okay, so it's important just to be aware that they are on the lookout for that, whether they admit it or not. So check in with your own voice, soften it, just be there. And I know that's easier said than done. If you've got a classroom full of interesting challenges, people's brains all work differently, they're wired differently. So just in saying that, this is where these movements come into practice, because it's their system connecting back to themselves through movement that's going to give them the signals of safety they need before they can start to learn. Okay, so what you might be seeing is it manifests as insecurity. Okay, so the real shy types, they're not grounded, really. Okay, it's also physical, so you might see like an unsteady, vulnerable. I'm saying that because a lot of cohort that I work with are presumed to be vulnerable and easily misled, or still yet to catch up to their peers, that sort of thing. But also being vulnerable can have that different context of meaning that we are being just true to who we are. So we just, the mask is off, so to speak. So I put that in there. Acknowledging, so that's kind of like a middle ground, like, just noticing that something could be different and you want it to feel more secure, more connected. Okay. And so these are things that you can just observe as you're heading towards helping your teen, to feel more centered, more assured, and more confident. Confidence is the key that we're looking for with grounded support. And just a little bit of a really important note here is that balance, emotional and physical stability is needed to become grounded. Okay, so if your emotions are running hot and high, you might not be that stable. And it could be subtle. It could just be like, I'm just like gently rocking this way or that way, or I'm a little bit off balance. And it shows, okay? But if you can actually, find this balance, then we are certainly on our way to becoming grounded. Okay, so what you might be seeing in the imbalance is teens that just total avoidance, delaying, coming, refusing to join in, overwhelmed quickly, all the things. Okay, you've seen it, that's why you're here. But I'm putting more emphasis on physical instability, so that's seeking vestibular input. Okay, so they can have more of a sense of where they are in space by just ramping up that system so it feels safe again. Okay, that's why kids often want to swing, twist, turn, that sort of thing. And they are all actions coming from our center, our middle. Okay, so without that awareness and input around our middle, it's very hard to feel grounded and centered. We get weak core muscles and we slump. And generally, people that are not grounded tend to not be aware of their own center or their personal space with other people. So, how does the brain and the body work together to process this? Well, this is just a very simple, straightforward way. From the bottom up is the pathway that any sensory information comes through from the body to the brain to send back and say what the body needs to do. And that includes feeling safe, feeling centered, all right? We have what's called a sensory motor cortex across the middle. And as I just mentioned, bottom-up processing basically means that if you've got information coming up through the brainstem, before it gets to that thinking part of the brain at the front, the prefrontal cortex, it's going to pass through the sensory motor cortex. And with the right stimulus, it'll have the much preferred action to go with that. Okay. And so that's why you can't just talk to someone, right? And say, snap out of it, or why are you moving, that sort of thing. Perhaps they need to move to keep their stimulant, to keep the brain stimulated. But the essence of what I'm showing you today is that integrated action and movement can calm the brain and send signals to the body so it feels safe, connected, grounded. But movement pattern is more than just coordination. It is established in our brains for our posture, our breathing, our vision, emotional regulation, learning, and relating to others. It really does it all. Okay? And it should be our default. It should be our teacher. It should be where we go to figure out what we need to do next. Because when you bring the right movement in at the right time, the brain and the body can regulate efficiently and naturally. So whether meditation is for you or the people you work with, I just thought I would put one on now, and I will have it in the comment discussion below so you can use it if it works for you. Are you ready? Close your eyes and imagine a water lily pond, a large water lily pond full of lilies that is full of insects, and you see and sense there are dragonflies nearby enjoying the water lilies. Just check your feet are hip width apart, your knees soft and slightly bent, and your toes pointing just slightly outwards. Your hands and arms are outwards, in front to the sides of your body. Your palms forward and your elbows slightly bent. Listen for the sound of dragonfly wings. Dragonflies with their four-wing action can move in any direction in any moment. So be on the lookout with your eyes closed and standing as such. Imagining there are beautiful dragonflies of all different colours, red ones, blue ones, green ones, and they just look magical glistening through on the water's edge. And as you're listening for the sound of the dragonfly wings, put your attention on your own skin as you feel for where the dragonflies might land. Relax your face and allow your arms, hands, and fingers to relax as though floating. Can you see now how the dragonfly may be just as happy to land on you as they are the water lilies? breathe smoothly and quietly. Let yourself feel weightless and still on the outside, yet active and moving on the inside. Knowing your center and feeling like if you were to move, you could easily move. But just enjoy this moment, just waiting for the dragonflies to alight. And after that moment, we're just going to talk about other movements that your body will recognize as safe and also send the neural connections that also make you feel grounded and centered. Okay, so if you want something that's really passive, you can do it for yourself or you can do it on others. And you're just going to get a couple, 2 or 3 fingers, say 1 to 2 centimeters above your eyebrows in the middle. And you're going to find these points, and they may be pulsing, or only one side maybe. It just depends on how much brain activity is on either side. And you can hold these points and just breathe softly and gently. And you might have a natural tendency when you've had enough, or you might take in a big deep breath, and that would be a sign that your system has allowed you to drop in, feel grounded. Or you could just ask the child or teen that you're working with, can I just put my hand on your head for a moment? And it can just be this kind of like subtle, and it also starts to bring more energy if it's in the back of the brain, or it's so if the body brain regulation pathway is cross-firing somewhere and they haven't quite got to the thinking, so this can be a way of just helping the brain bring the energy forward. Might even be to help solve a problem. Okay, so this is just a great way that you can feel grounded, and it's just a little tip to help someone as well. Okay, the second one is, it's actually quite actiony, if that makes sense. So in that picture, there is a basketball, but it could be quite a heavy ball, and something that someone can grab. Okay, and then you could, what I call round the world, is go round the stomach, round the stomach, round the stomach, round the stomach, or round the other side. And that's giving a lot of input and feedback to the middle, okay, for that physical stability. It helps with balance and just giving the brain a context about the middle. And it works your core. So any kind of core work will help with these feelings of coming back to your center. Okay. Now I've got there pushing and pulling. So yeah, you might not have access to a wheelbarrow unless that's your vocation, but you may have body weight. Okay, so you could stand or get people in pairs and pushing each other, or using feet to push. So any of that push-pull action, exercise bands. Okay, so I do this with people if I can sense that they haven't yet arrived in the room, or they're showing signs of being off balance, a little bit overwhelmed. Okay, so I can do these nice passive movements, but we can also ramp it up. with a few more like exercises that focus on the core and just get people into that action state. And anything in the center here in the middle is really going to get someone just feeling much more calm in their system. Okay, so just a few things to remember here. We've got grounded support done together, and just have a basic understanding of the pathways of the brain, and that it runs through that sensory motor cortex. And so people often need that input before they can get to the thinking, rational side of things. Okay, so directives alone are not necessarily going to get someone calm, connected. Keep yourself grounded so you can connect, and find your pace, your own rhythm, your own timing. And that is what the 4 movements at the beginning called PACE was, finding your own rhythm, your own timing. So a quick little side note is that brain breaks can sometimes feel a bit overwhelming for kids if they're too much stimulus. But the pace is really about, getting your brain body regulated, back in the room, ready to pay attention again, but you feel calm. A lot of people report feeling calm and energized. Okay, so they are some of the BrainGym energy exercises, and the push, pull, lift, swing, all those things. I've included the meditation. And another thing I'm not really going to go through right now is that you could create a playlist at songs that are around 60 beats per minute and have it in the background. And that naturally will be an instigator for people's rhythm and timing to come back to what I call the mother's heartbeat rhythm. Okay, so you could find those sort of songs on Spotify or YouTube. Okay, so co-regulation, starting point for everything. When we're grounded, we can move between how we feel and what we need to think. Okay, feeling, thinking. Okay, both is great. Not being stuck in overthinking or overwhelm. And we can teach, we can model, we can guide people to their center. And they'll actually really appreciate you for it, because it's a lovely place to be. When we are there, we tend to be able to relate to people better. Okay? And so, look, just start the day with the intention to help build someone's confidence from the inside out. And just going to leave it on this. It only takes one regulated nervous system to be the calm in the room, which can change the room. Yes. So a few little quick grounded case studies. So a 14-year-old very much could trouble focusing, sitting still, speaks without thinking things through, very reactive. Once I use these tools, get her grounded, she touches me lightly on my hand and she says, "I'm ready," which is fabulous. Another 16-year-old with complex trauma, background, ADHD and anxiety. Once he did this grounding work, and he required a lot of that ball skill and the buttons and the positive points and all those things. And he said to me, "Wow, my voice is lower. Can you hear my voice?" And I feel steady and I feel calm. So that's great. And then I have the example of it being a byproduct. So in a classroom with supporting special needs kids, and I was just asked to just do an exercise, and there was one child that was upset, crying, and actually trying to leave class. And the other kids in the class, they did the PACE sequence. She felt it and immediately became quiet, curious, and continued doing a puzzle. So that's that whole regulated nervous system coming into play. I just want to mention that this is part of a program, social circuitry training coming soon. And we've got the little grounded section down the bottom, which is I'm talking about internal pathways needing connection and safety before we can look at teaching people about, social skills or etiquette, that sort of thing. So we start with feeling grounded. So I hope you enjoyed it, and please subscribe, like, comment if you have any, and we can continue the discussion, because this is all about working together. Thank you.